You mentioned a level of discontent.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a point of no return on this? Is there a point where we've gone too far?
Well, I don't know whether we've gone too far, but looking at European countries, they have gone too far. I see no way that Germany is ever going to return. Despite years of, well, perhaps because of years of political indoctrination in which Germans told that they're subhuman, they've started every war in human history, and they could only atone for this by handing over their country to Muslim immigrants, and by allowing themselves to be merged with the European Union. Their country has ceased to be a nation state. I don't know what it is. It's simply waiting. It's a collection of yuppies and welfare state beneficiaries waiting to be taken over by the EU, producing very few offspring, and being colonized by Muslims. I think there are other countries in Europe, like Spain, which present an almost equally bleak, future for a multicultural country. I don't think we're quite at that point, but I'm not sure these European countries can come back from where they are. Well, I think much of Western Europe is ruined, irretrievably, irreversibly ruined by the amount of multicultural indoctrination and the application of multicultural policies through which they have passed in recent decades.
Now, if I could play devil's advocate,
right?
What would you say to someone that says, for example, you may say that Europe is unfixable, but at the same point, we haven't seen any major wars in Europe like World War I and World War II for 50 years.
Yeah, you'd be unlikely to see any major wars in Europe in the last 50 or 60 years because they bled themselves white in 2 world wars. Okay, there's no reason to assume they would be going to war with each other if it were not for the European Union. What they basically have done is turn their cities into centers of civil strife because of the presence of large Muslim populations that they cannot integrate into their societies. But the notion that somehow they'd all be killing each other were it not for the European Union or not for their weakened national sense and the triumph of multiculturalism in Europe, I don't think is a particularly sound refutation of my position. I don't think there were any wars in the cards. The major problem, of course, was the polarization between the United States and the Soviet Union, in which the battlefield was likely to be Europe. But Europe was playing a very minor role. Moreover, in the 1950s, there was a much stronger sense of nationhood in Europe than there is now. And they were not going to war. I mean, Germans still had a sense of being German. The French under de Gaulle had a sense of being French. Spain was ruled by a very reactionary leader, Franco. But Europeans still had a profound sense of national identity back in the 1950s. And they were willing to cooperate. They create the coal-iron community. They even signed the Treaty of Rome, which may have been the slippery slope leading to the European Union. But you did see European countries that both had a sense of themselves as nations, and yet they were willing to cooperate, and there was no likelihood of European countries going to war.